Hello. Okay. I'm ready. Yeah. Welcome. I'm glad that everyone's here. Hopefully we'll have a few more people coming through as well. I'm not sure. I think I just have to talk a lot closer into the microphone to get it louder because it's already on full volume here. And you can check the trim here. Eh? Yeah. Okay. Is it okay? Can everyone hear me? Okay? Yeah? All right. So a few people were asking me today if I'm going to do the presentation in English or in German. And I was like, I kind of prepared it to do it in English, also for the stream. But I would like to see quickly, is this not okay for anyone? Is someone maybe struggling with English and would prefer me to do it in German? Just to get an idea of whether someone might not understand properly what I'm saying if it's in English. Yeah, hey, yeah. Is it okay for everyone?
You have to ask it in German.
Genau. Passt es dann für euch, wenn ich das auf Englisch mache? Ist das okay? Wir können auch gerne im Nachhinein, also ich würde noch eine Fragerunde auch machen und da könnt ihr auch gerne auf Deutsch fragen und ich kann auch auf Deutsch antworten, das ist kein Problem so. Aber genau, ich glaube, ich bleibe dann bei Englisch dann für den Vortrag. Und ja, heute würde ich ein bisschen erstmal über Modular-Synthesizer und was das überhaupt sind. Ich war mir nicht sicher, kommen hier vielleicht Leute auch ran und die kennen sich damit nicht aus und dann wollte ich gerne so erstmal ein bisschen diesen Plattform überhaupt erklären. Und dann würde ich jetzt wegen diesem Space hier, der ist ja ganz viel auf Design quasi basiert. Da sind ganz viele verschiedene Arten von Designer, die hier im Raum auch arbeiten. Die machen Webdesign, die machen Produkte, die machen Fotografie und Film. Und ich dachte, das ist ja ganz schön, dass was wir machen mit Modulove, diese ganze Design-Aspekte, die dazugehören, vielleicht auch zu zeigen und ein bisschen darüber zu sprechen, was geht da alles mit rein. Jetzt mache ich auch den Vortrag auf Deutsch. So, geil. Okay, I'm going to switch back to English now. So today the theme is modular. What is it? And the design philosophies around modular. My mic is not working anymore. I think it's... but then it's not working on the speakers. Yeah, sorry. If anyone wants to sit down, please just grab a chair and put it here, and yeah, then we can move them back when we're finished. What? Yeah, it's a feedback loop. You can just kill this for now. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Go here to the next slide. Yeah. So first question: what are modular synthesizers? Also, maybe get a quick idea. Like, does anyone here know what a modular synth is? Maybe just hands up. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Customizable electronic instruments made of separate modules in a powered case. So the idea is you have a case, everything is connected just to the power, and you have a bunch of different modules inside. But this is the only connection, actually. And the modules all have little jacks on the front, and you have to patch everything with a cable to actually get something working, to create your signal flow. This is something quite special about modular synthesizers. Yeah, modules connect via patch cables to create sound, a process called patching. And in a modular system, it's quite interesting because you have quite a few different signal types. You don't just have audio, as you would have usually with most equipment. You kind of can see it like there are a bunch of different circuits that aren't connected with each other, and you're feeding audio through them, you're feeding what we call control voltage. So everything in a modular synth is actually controlled via different voltage levels. So you can open up the volume of something, you can change the pitch of something, you can modulate the filter and change the cutoff, and all of this happens using voltages. So this is one of the main other signals that we're sending through a modular. Then we have like gate and trigger signals, which are just small pulses for a trigger, and a gate is opening and then closing, and with different lengths. And then we have audio, obviously. And sometimes now there's also MIDI signals in modular synths. This is something that I've recently been working with, like very recently. Yeah, and here in the picture, we can see, oh, there's another thing. Each module serves specific functions: waveforms, filters, signals, sequences. This is also different forms of voltage that are modulating the system. And here is just a kind of a close-up image of my system here. Zoomed in, you can see there's plenty of cables going all over the place, and yeah, it's like a step-by-step process to patch this system up to get it doing what I want it to do. And the beautiful thing with modular synths is this is completely individual. There's no other system that has exactly the same modules that is patched exactly the same way, and it's constantly changing as well. So this is something very unique, I think, about modular synths. The power of patching. So let's see what I've got here. Unlike traditional synthesizers, modules must be physically connected to work. This is what I was talking about before, that they're like separate circuits. They're only connected via power, and for anything to happen, you have to connect them. And I think this actual practice of plugging things into each other and consciously thinking about where is the signal flowing and what signal is flowing through there, this is something really rewarding, actually. And because it's all so open, if I pull all these cables out, then I have like so many different options of where one output can go to another input. And this can completely change what the system is doing. And very often in the practice of patching, you come across really interesting happy accidents, we like to call it in the modular world. It's a very well-known term, I think, in other areas as well. Flexible signal routing allows virtually limitless sound design possibilities. This is, yeah, it's becoming more and more capable, especially now in this day and age where digital is quite accessible and people are learning how to program, and we are seeing more digitally based modules or like digitally controlled analog circuits. This is like super cool. It just opens up many, many doors. Perfect for experimental musicians and sound designers. A lot of people that I know that work with modular synths are working primarily as sound designers, and it's a really great platform for this because it's so experimental, because you can really completely change the way the signals are flowing through. Yeah, here is just, again, my system. I tried to just take pictures that I had. Yeah, and here you can see there's a lot of different cables going through. My system is built primarily as a live performance rig that I use for live improvised sets, which you'll hear later on. I'll play like a 2-hour set afterwards. Let's go to the next slide. Why choose modular? Portability, compact, self-contained systems ready for gigs and studios. This is something that I learned after I got into modular. It's so much more portable than like a doorless system where you have different devices, different machines that you have to cable together with each other. Each one needs a case maybe to carry it. And before I was using modular, I was using Ableton Live with a bunch of different controllers. And this was incredibly flexible in terms of sound, and I can change things really easily. But it was such a pain to set it up and to pack it down, and it took a lot of space, and it was always, so many things can go wrong. Whereas with my modular synth now, it's like one case, and it covers everything that I need for my live improvised performances. And all I need to do is plug the power in and plug the audio output to the speakers, and I can start like that. This is incredible, you know, to have this instant access to this kind of crazy system. Creative freedom, build your own unique instrument tailored to your needs. Like I said, my system is built primarily as a performance rig. Many people also have a smaller system that's maybe just one dedicated synth voice, or there are quite a few interesting avenues in modular synthesis, like generative music, or we have also a lot of noise music kind of stuff where you can, you know, create like pretty crazy soundscapes and all of this kind of thing. Some people just have a modular synth setup where you just do drums. You do some techno beats and you have maybe a couple of voices and a sequencer, and that's it. So it's super cool to be able to decide what should my modular synth actually do? Like what's the purpose of it? Obviously, this can change as well. Hands-on learning, deep understanding through physical and tactile interaction. This is the other thing. Through actually having to take a cable, it has to be long enough, choosing where you're taking the signal and plugging it somewhere else. It's something, it becomes repetitive, and you learn through interacting physically with something. I find this very refreshing after using a computer for a long time to make music, because it's so much more physical. And I think, you know, I got very sick quickly of a mouse and a keyboard when I was using a computer to make music, and that's why I started to use a lot of different controllers to do this. But with the modular, it's a bigger step forward to being able to touch everything and to change everything wherever you want, whenever you want, kind of. You know, it's there's also another term, like a one knob per function. This is something in modular. It means each feature that you have in your module has a physical knob that you can turn. You don't have to change a page or search somewhere in a bar for like the setting that you want to change. Then, what do we have next? Oh yeah, before I go past this, this is my modular synth on the back of my bike. I'm often taking it strapped to my bike. I've flown overseas twice, once to Australia and once back again. And this just kind of shows, it's quite a big system, but it's big enough that I can still transport it in many different ways. More benefits. Limitless sound design, infinite sonic possibilities with your module collection. Like I said before, there's so many new modules coming out these days, and there's some really interesting kind of effects modules, or also like modules that have like a all-in-one system, even with like sound generation and maybe some kind of effects. And then there's like many different interesting modulation sources. So modulation is when we take a control voltage and we use it to basically to modulate, to shift one of the parameters in another module. And through being able to take these really interesting modulation sources and control already quite interesting sound sources, you really have a very, very deep like pool of sound that you can create. This is super nice. Yeah. Another thing that I'm very pleased that I'm using Modular to make music with because of this inspiring workflow. Physical patching sparks creativity and unexpected discoveries. Again, the happy accidents. Like I've definitely had quite a few experiences where I even sometimes just accidentally put the cable in the wrong like input, and I was like, whoa, what's this sound? That's so cool. Like, how did that happen? And then the cool thing about this is you have this excitement of discovery as well. So it's like when you have this kind of experience, it really sticks in your brain, and it's something that you're like, I've got this little trick that I can do again. It's like a funny little thing that I can patch to get a really interesting sound that I just discovered, by accident. Expandability, start small and grow your system over time. I did this as well, and we were working a lot with DIY modules. This was also super interesting to learn that I can buy kits and I can solder my own modules and slowly, gradually increase the size of my system. And this is really quite amazing as well that obviously for a modular synth to be sensible, you kind of do need a few different modules to get something happening, because you want maybe a sound source, maybe something to process it, maybe something to control it as well. But there are plenty of different semi-modular synths. So this is how I started. I had one semi-modular synth with a whole patch bay with a bunch of different things that I can connect to my one first module. And I built a case. It was like 2 pieces of scrap wood with the rails screwed to it, and I just stuck it on there and got like a cheap power source for it, and I could start using my first module to make music. And from there, I slowly was building module by module to fill my first case. And this was really nice. And eventually the case became a bit too small. So then I thought, okay, then I need to think about how can I expand the case or build a different sized case. I've been using laser cutting a lot to make my modular synths because I have access through a local makerspace, which I helped to open here in Hamburg. And this is super cool because it's actually quite cheap, and I can draw everything on my computer in 2 dimensions and then just tell the laser, this is the path that you need to cut out, and it follows it. Super cool. Yeah. Then design philosophies. So now we're looking a bit more at here, all of the modules that we currently are selling, which I am doing all of the aesthetic design for. This was also something I didn't really realize when I started getting into modular, that it was going to lead me down a path where I can take this thing that I'm really passionate about, which is design, and this other thing that I'm really passionate about, which is music, and I can actually take those 2 things and turn them into one finished thing that I want to use myself. And my process then for designing these panels is kind of always changing, and it's a lot of like improvised work. So I approach it similarly to the way that I'm performing, but I look at the module and I think, what kind of functions are you giving me? And how can I visually represent these things to give hints towards what is it doing, which control is controlling what? And obviously you have like the labeling on the module, which is very good to still have this, I think. But there are a lot of graphical components as well, which really give hints towards what it does. So here, modular design merges art, engineering, and human interaction. It's very much about, again, this hands-on tweaking of parameters and turning knobs, pushing buttons. Creating inspiring musical instruments where all elements harmonize. Yeah, it's also really interesting because the modular system is so open, and you have so many different developers that are creating modules, and they all look different. It's obviously very hard to make it so that it's visually harmonizing. I don't really think this is a problem. I quite like also this huge range of diversity actually in the aesthetics of modules. Obviously, a big part of it is also how they work with other modules electronically and sound-wise. This is probably the more important thing. And yeah, here you can see like with movement, this is like a fairly recent release from us. We have like the first knob, it's called Elevate. This is like a different name for amplitude then, but you have the arrows pointing upwards to give you a visual cue. This is in control of the volume of the signal that you're sending out. Then we have Stretch, which basically just does exactly that. It stretches the wave longer or shorter. Then we have Smoothing, which has like this little triangle here. So this is not smooth when it's at 0. And here we have like a rounded curve to show that you can turn it from like triangular to circular to smooth it. And here there's like in Fluctuate, we have like a repeating pattern. And here we have a pattern that is like randomly kind of changing. And at the very top here, we have like this kind of spaghetti looking thing. This is what kind of signal comes out of it if you turn the Fluctuate knob up. This basically changes the distance between the values that are randomly happening, and then you can smooth them to get like a really organic, smooth output. Yeah, this was really fun to design. I really enjoyed this a lot. All of these modules have been quite fun for me. It's also a really nice module. I bought this as one of my first DIY kits and built it, and it's like a kind of full voice. And very often people are commenting on the design of this module. I thought, yeah, it's quite a unique one. It has like a really interesting aesthetic, and I put a different knob on here with like some rubber on it because I like the feel of like a rubberized knob. It's giving you a bit more grip, and the bigger the knob is, the finer you can turn it as well. This makes a huge difference. It's something like people probably don't think about this actually, but it's like intuitively when you touch it and you turn it, you can feel there's actually, because of the diameter, a lot finer resolution of where it's turned to. This is a big part of like the UX design, the user experience. Panel graphics, colors, and typography create visual identity. This is again like something you can see here, like this one is so different to this or this here, and it's like these are imparting so much personality into the module and showing also the personality of the person who made the module. I think this is a really beautiful thing about design in general, that you can communicate parts of who you are maybe through this visual communication. Yeah. And from minimalist to maximalist expression, your system reflects your style. Yeah. Again, I really like this module. I think it's got quite a beautiful design, and the layout also. In the middle here is the filter cutoff knob, which is always a fun knob to tweak. That's why it's big and it's in the middle, and it's constantly pulling your attention to it and saying, "Here, I'm here, turn me." It's like, this is great UX design. Then we have circuit design. So this is what's happening behind the front panel in the electronic circuitry, and here we have like it's kind of like a breadboard prototyping system. So this is a breadboard where you have all these little holes where you can stick different components in and test things without having to solder them. And up the top and around the sides, we have a bunch of different components that are very common used in Eurorack format. We have a power input coming through and a little screen and a bunch of knobs and jacks, and all of these can be just taken from their patch points, similar to how you would patch a modular, but on a breadboard. And with this we can tweak and test different circuit designs to first figure out what we need to do to achieve what we want electronically and also sound-wise. It's a very important part of what we do with Modulove as well, developing these products. So component choice and topology, analog, digital, and hybrid, they all shape the sonic character of what comes out of your module. Innovation drives new synthesis possibilities while balancing reliability. This is also, something with digital stuff. We have bugs in digital stuff. This is something that there's sometimes quirks in analog circuitry, which generally tend to be well thought of, and people are seeking these things. In the digital world, it's not so much so. We have weird bugs that basically stop the things from working completely, or, I mean, maybe sometimes you do have a bug that ends up becoming a feature. This is quite a funny thing when this happens. But this is something, so balancing reliability, it's also thinking about how much of this actually needs to be digital and what can we offload to an analog circuit which just does its job every single time and doesn't have even the possibility to bug out and crash. Yeah. Then case design and layout. This photo I actually took from an online website for free photos because I didn't have any photos of me rearranging my case, or any of us, I think. Probably there are some somewhere hidden away in a hard drive, but here you can really see the kind of act of taking some of the modules out of the case and rearranging possibly, and looking at how things are laid out in your case. This is like a really interesting aspect, also a design aspect, which crosses over to any consumer of a modular synth. You become the designer of your own system. You decide which modules you're going to put in there. You decide where they're going to be positioned in relation to each other. And I think this is a really interesting aspect of design that's very much integrated in modular synths. Cases balance portability and expandability with power and ergonomics. Yeah, this is also, I mean, it's a great example, I think, with the case that I have now. The size of it, it's big enough for me to swap things out, actually, and really change what the system does, but it's still not too big that I can't take it as carry-on luggage on an airplane. And this is like quite a nice kind of middle range to be in. There are some people, they have a modular synth, it's like bigger than this screen here, you know, it's like so many modules, and this is cool, it costs a lot of money, and you can't really move it then. And so for me, this is not so interesting because I want to be portable. I want to be able to take my synth to a friend's house and play with them, or take it to a studio, or take it to a jam session, or take it here to an event and perform with it. So, yeah, this is super important. And obviously with bigger systems, you need more power to run it. This is something that you also have to take into account when designing a system. Smart layout considers cable management and patching accessibility. This is something that I've also been very slowly kind of fine-tuning in my system. I've found ways to make the distance from one module to another where I always patch the same route, and find ways to make sure that there's still room to access all of the controls, because this is something that can become a problem very quickly, especially in the process of patching when you're experimenting with here I could patch this module up here with this one down here, and then it's like covering the whole thing, and you're like, no, I can't really get in there and actually tweak anything anymore. So cable management is quite a big part as well. And obviously the layout of your system plays a huge part in cable management. Control and interaction. So like I was saying before, with the big module with the big filter knob in the middle, this is like a choice of what kind of a knob. Is it a slider, a knob, or a button, or a switch? These are all different types of tactile input that you can use to control the modules, and this is a big part of like the design decisions that people have to decide on. How are people going to interact with this product, with this module? and how can we make it so it's intuitive and the user has a good experience when working with this. Quality and type of controls directly impact playability and expression. This is like, yeah, it just says basically what I said. But there is definitely sometimes cases where I have a module and I'm trying to use it and there's something that's stopping me from actually doing what I want to do, because there's a weird little thing that you maybe have to focus on to actually achieve the outcome that you want. And this can be like a showstopper. You could be fully in the flow and really creating something really interesting, and then it's similar to the pain that I had with Ableton Live using a computer, and then I do a software update or update the system because some plugin doesn't work anymore, and it just stops all the other plugins from working. And then it's like, actually I want to just sit down and make music right now, but you're forcing me to find another way to actually even be able to do that. And this is something, it's a lot easier to avoid in Modular when we're working with hardware. But it's definitely something that you have to consider when you're designing products in this Modular, or I would say really any product. This is like a basic thing for product design. You need to think about how people are going to interact with it and make sure that the user is going to have a pleasant, intuitive experience, really. Yeah. Control placement, this is also, yeah, same kind of thing. How far away maybe are the controls from each other? Are the controls maybe grouped together to be relevant to each other? This is something, these are all little things that we can give the user to kind of take a bit of the load away from having to think too much about how does this thing work, and allow a user to really quickly find more a sense of feel for using something, instead of having to read through the manual and try to remember 1,000 different things. You can really, through smart layout design, you can really make it basically not work anymore, but just fun to use. And yeah, this is a big part of it as well. Strategic layout based on signal flow and usage frequency. So this is also, again, a good example with the big filter knob. It's used often, and it's fun to use. So it's bigger and it's placed in the middle. So it grabs your attention and you know this is important, this thing. And same thing with maybe the inputs or the outputs. They're clearly labeled and usually somewhere. So often you'll have the inputs at the top of the module, the signal flows through, and then the outputs are at the bottom. So it's clear this is how the signal is being processed. It's like kind of quite intuitive to follow then. Creates intuitive, accessible workflows within space constraints. Yeah, this is, again, you can do a lot with this kind of problem solving then. Labeling and communication. This is quite fun, something that I've just been working on like the last week. I've completely tweaked my sequencer in my system, and it's an open source project, and I like kind of hacked the firmware and added a bunch of new features to it. And I was like, it's super nice, but now there are certain things missing on the panel. And maybe I just make a panel design so I can start producing these panels and put one on my module, but then I can also share them with the community and also share the firmware that I've written for it. And here you can see like there's a lot of different labels, and it's quite a complex and deep module, but with clear labeling, you give obviously a very clear cue to this button does something and this is what it does. So it's very important, I think. There are certain manufacturers that create modules that have no labels at all, and I think this I actually really like because it's like quite unique, and the problem with this is, like, if you don't use the module for a few weeks and then you look at it again, you have to ask yourself, what the hell does any of this do? And find out by patching it again. And I think if you use it every day, no problem. But otherwise, I think it's a nice little step that we can take to make it more accessible. Clear labels, color coding, and icons help navigate functions quickly. Effective panel design reduces confusion and speeds up creativity. Again, this is really the end goal, is that we want people to be able to use these products and to use them intuitively and easily and reach the goal, which is usually to make sound. Yeah. Here, the panel design for the new sequencer. I've actually added Space Invaders into it, and you can play it. It's like a little hidden thing. And so I thought I'd add the little Space Invaders everywhere in the panel. It's a fun little thing. Oh, what happened here? Resume. I think I accidentally pressed like pause or something. There we go. Visual feedback. This is super cool because you probably have noticed, like, all the stuff that we've got around here with the modular. This one's got like a blinking cable coming out of it, and my modular center is completely covered in lights as well. And this can be really fun and pleasing to look at, but often the lights are actually giving us a really clear visualization of the signal that's coming out of an output, or what's happening in my sequencer right now. And this is super important, actually, to give the user a quick overview. If you're playing somewhere in a dark setting and you have some lights that are really pulsating at the same time as you're hearing the sound, then you know straight away that's coming from there, or it's being controlled from that point. This is a huge part to add this kind of visual feedback to things. LEDs show signal presence, clipping, and modulation activity. So yeah, it's very, very helpful. Real-time visualization confirmation enhances functionality and performance. Screens and displays, it's kind of a taboo thing in modular because, like I said before, a big part of it is like having this one knob per function thing, and it's like people that kind of graduate to modular, they tend to want to get away from a screen. It's becoming quite a thing. People get sick of using computers and staring at a screen all day, and they want to have something physical to interact with. And there are quite a few people, I think, in the modular community that are a little bit like, I don't want to have a module if it has a screen. I understand this. At the same time, through developing now a few different modules that have screens and seeing the crazy amount of information that you can show over a screen. It's like, you know, with one LED you can show the signal going up and down. With a screen you can visualize the signal as like a scope and see the waveform. It's quite cool, and there are quite a few modules that implement screens in a really smart way, where it's not actually giving you like all these deep dive like menus, but actually just showing you one top level function, and maybe if you press a different button then it shows you that function while you're pressing the button. This is like super accessible actually, and again, visually extremely helpful. And yeah, OLED LCD screens enable parameter editing and waveform visualization. Animated graphics bridge deep functionality with immediate accessibility. It can be done really well, I think. And here we can see another part of the firmware that I've been hacking for my sequencer. I thought it has so many buttons and it has such a wide screen. I can actually just add a keyboard function, so I can play on the keys on my sequencer and play melodies in. Sometimes, I'm taking my system with me, and it's always kind of a pain to have to take the keyboard in my backpack as well. It's like another thing. It's heavier, it's a bit bulky, and sometimes I've had the system without the keyboard, and I always miss the keyboard. It's like, damn, why didn't I take it with me? So I thought, why not just put it into the firmware? It's like, it's not so complicated, because all of the buttons are there and the screen's there. Integration. This is also a picture of Linus's big synthesizer at the moment, his big modular synth. All design elements must work together seamlessly. Yeah, I don't know about this. This is kind of what I was saying before. It's not necessarily like, if you look at the aesthetic design, it's maybe not working together seamlessly, but I think here the more important part again is the signal flow, and that everything is working in a unified system. And this is a beautiful thing actually about the Eurorec format, which is one basically specific size definition of modular synths. There are other formats as well. The Eurorec format is quite compact and uses these small 3.5 millimeter jacks and small mono patch cables. And this is something, it does work seamlessly in this kind of system. Great circuits need intuitive interfaces to inspire creativity. Again, this is just pointing again at this well-designed things work better. It's more fun, and it inspires you to work with these things. Here's the Eurorec standard. I've stolen this from a company, IntelliGel. They have a great visualization of the 3U panel, which is the higher size module, in millimeters, and how big the circuit board behind it has to be. The circuit board actually has to sit inside these mounting rails, so it has to be quite a bit shorter than the panel that sits on top, which is screwed into the rails. So this is like one of the design constraints around designing your circuitry. You have a limited amount of space in height, and depending on how wide you make your module, you're also limited there. Here we also have the 1U panel, which is like a kind of newer format, which is basically a third of the 3U panel, and offering a more horizontal layout for modules. I find this super interesting to use in the system. Also when it comes to distributing signals across my case. It's quite helps with cable management and patch layout. Then we have here the 3U height, standardized width in HP, which is horizontal pitch, and a plus minus 12 volt power. So this is also something, it's a unified power system where all the modules use the same level or range of power supply. And in this, we can basically see it as like they're all speaking the same language with each other. And we have maybe different ranges, but each of the modules, they're going to understand those things because they're all speaking the same language. They have the same range of power. Universal specs enable seamless compatibility across manufacturers. So again, this is what makes Eurorec possible, that we have these set sizes, these predefined limitations, means that 1,000 different people can create a product that is compatible with all of those other products. And this is quite spectacular, actually, to see this. Quite a rare thing, actually, these days as well. Yeah, this is a great resource, something that I looked at a lot when I was first trying to design modules, trying to remember how high does the circuit board have to be then? Yeah, why Eurorack dominates? I'm also not sure whether this is really true, that Eurorack is dominating. We hope someday that Eurorack is going to dominate the world. I'm always trying to encourage people to get into it and trying to offer easy, accessible ways to discover modular and Eurorack synthesis. It's compact, it's portable. Affordable is a questionable term to use. With massive diversity. So this is, again, this really amazing part of it is that there's just so many different modules, and you can really explore probably for years, looking at all the different things that it's available. And yeah, an unmatched ecosystem of module choices from budget to boutique. This is actually in Australia at a festival. So I'm from Australia. I was born in Melbourne, and we will soon be moving back there. And I discovered this really sweet little electronic music festival that was like down the road from where I lived, and got on board with the crew and helped to set up the festival. And I was able to take my system there and set it up in 3 minutes and could play a live set there. And this was like awesome, playing outside in the summer, close to the water, on the main floor with a super nice sound system. It was a lot of fun. DIY culture and makers. So this is an image from our workshop here in Hamburg, from part of the workshop, where we do a lot of the electronics, soldering, circuit design, breadboarding. And yeah, so the small scale builders drove Eurorack's explosive growth. And I think this is something fairly new to developing in Eurorack, I would say. But I've met a lot of people actually online who are developing their own products in an open source kind of way, sharing things and kind of connecting and creating community. And it's really incredible the amount of energy that we as Modulove are getting from this community, from other people who are pursuing the same things and are so open and helpful and sharing of what they're doing. This feels like it's really safe, and it's like a nice environment to move forward, but also to give back to the community. And I think this is a beautiful thing to see everyone holding each other up and supporting growth. Then bedroom manufacturers became respected brands, democratizing development. This is also really interesting, you know, like there are quite a few companies. It's one single person who's just soldering at home in their bedroom, and they actually, some of them become really well-established brands that are making incredible products. And I think this is something, it's also quite rare in other areas of maybe product design, you know. I think it's quite special to see this. The open source philosophy. This is a screen from our GitHub repository. And I'm still kind of learning how to use GitHub properly, but this is a place, it's like an open database to store all of your firmware, all of your software design. There are hardware designs in here as well, and it's really incredible if you look through what some people have created and just completely open source. They've shared it, all of the source material that you need to do what they've done, what they've created. You can learn from it, and you can also modify it often and create your own things out of it. And this is again showing this strength in working together as a community to do something. It completely changes the level of what you can achieve. It's like really incredible. Yeah, shared schematics, designs accelerate innovation. And anyone can build, modify, and improve existing modules, like I've been doing now with the sequencer in my system. this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't open source. I would not be able to access the code and change and improve on it. And the benefits of open development, this is a site from a friend of ours. It's like a GitHub hosted webpage from him. He very early was adopting some of our modules, particularly the arithmetic and the sync mod LFO. And he's a professional coder, and he was like, oh, that's so cool. Now I have a piece of hardware that's openly accessible, and I can easily program new systems into this. And so he just straight away was like churning out all these different firmwares for it. And this was like, for us, this was incredible to have someone recognizing what we're trying to provide with these modules and actually utilizing it and giving back to the community then. And he has this great site, which we now also kind of inspired by him, tried to set up to have everything in the browser, and you can plug in your module with USB and you can flash a different firmware. And through this, you can change how the module works and what it does. It's like super cool. Community feedback improves designs rapidly as well. This is also, I've been putting the firmware. I posted a video about the tweaks that I've made for my sequencer, and within like 3 hours, I had like 40 messages, different people saying, this is so cool, and thank you so much. And like, have you thought about maybe trying to add this feature? And some of the ideas were like super good. And I was like, actually, I hadn't thought about that, but I'm going to add it to the list of things that I might try to implement. And people are now also installing the new firmware that I've been writing and testing it and telling me, here is a bug that I've discovered, which maybe I haven't come across. And being able to do this, it only works in this open source setting, but it's incredible because it's just giving me like a team of people that actually don't even know each other, but they're all working collectively on making something better. Transparency builds trust while making synthesis accessible to all. Transparency, open sourcing things, is being transparent about what you're doing and not gatekeeping valuable information that could help other people achieve something similar or something different as well. I think this is quite an interesting thing to think about as well. And then I think this is it. No, the ecosystem today. Last slide. Hundreds of manufacturers worldwide, DIY kits to boutique modules. So this is just a screen grab of somebody's system on Modular Grid. This is like one website where you can plan your modular synth, and it has like a huge library of all the different modules that exist, basically. Some of them aren't in there, but most of them are in there, and you can pick and choose and put them into your virtual rack and rearrange them so you can kind of plan the layout before you decide to even buy something. This is quite valuable, really, as well. And yeah, this here you can see then just another wide range of different looking modules and all the different types of interfaces that we have, with different styles of layout design, with here like a bank of faders, and here again a big frequency knob in the middle. It's always a favorite. And it's really interesting, I think, to see all these different designs together. Aesthetically, maybe not harmonizing so much, but again, I think there's something beautiful about this, that everything actually looks quite different and it has its own aesthetic to itself as well. Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, thanks for listening. If anyone has questions, I would be happy to maybe pass around a mic as well, and we can do a little Q&A. just see if I can get the other microphone. Should be. That's probably okay, actually, without the mic. I think it will just, whatever. Yeah, genau.
I have a question. You were talking about the different standards, like...
Yes, the different standards in Modular.
Yeah, the different standards. Would you please give a short overview of
Yeah.
the main ones and why?
So the other standard that I'm more familiar with is the Modular modules, and these are 4U, so they're actually like the 3U and the 1U row together, so they're a bit higher, and they're quite a bit bigger and generally use the larger patch points, I believe. No, okay. And then we also have like the other Eurorack formats, which we see in studios, which are generally going in the horizontal axis. So these 19-inch systems, they have usually just the panel on the front and all of the interfacing on the back. And I'm not sure. Does anyone else know?
The 5U.
The 5U? From Moog, yes. That's right, yeah. I got this confused with the Modular, yeah. And Cosmo, yes, Cosmotronic from, Lookmam No Computer. So he's also making larger modules with larger components and having the spacing of all of the controls separated a bit further and using the bigger jacks. And this is really, it's a lot more DIY friendly. It's not as small and fiddly to make, but it takes more space. So yeah, I think that's it maybe. Any other questions? Anybody?
We have a room mic. Now.
Ah, you found the other night. Nice. Phew. Nice.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. It was great. It was very informative, very nice. Thank you.
Awesome.
And also, like, I get that one part of playing around with modular synthesizers is it feels like a very personal journey and a very personal way of interacting with all this technology. But in the end, I wanted to ask you, like, since you are producing and modules that are gonna be sold, like, did you struggle at one point to do it like for everyone, let's say, or how do you transfer this very personal activity in playing into something that's gonna be done for many other people, you know?
Yeah, this is a great question. I mean, it's hard, I think, as just me to know what everyone wants. I think I have generally a good idea because I'm using these systems in a lot of different ways, and I try to take into account then different use cases to try to cover everything as well as possible. And I think it is really impossible to do this, to make it accessible or to fit to everyone's exact needs. As I said, some people hate modules that have screens, and we have a module that has a screen, so this is not going to work for that person. But I try to make it so it's, for me, it feels right, it feels comfortable, and to also obviously talk to other people and get other people to test, also people that are developing. So we have quite a few different people that we know around the world who are developing their own products, and we're often sending things back and forth, and they ship us some new DIY module that they're working on, and we ship our things over, and then we give each other feedback, and this way we can kind of scrape across and see, here's something maybe you didn't think about. Maybe we think about changing that thing to make it more accessible. So it's also a community effort, I think, to achieve this.
Great.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Great collaborative
Cool.
effort in the end.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do we have any more questions? Okay.
I have a question, Sasha.
Yeah.
How much fun does it make to tweak that firmware?
To tweak the firmware? Oh, it's insane. I started last week on Tuesday evening, and I just sat down at my modular, wanted to start preparing for the set that I'm going to play today, and I just got this new module in my system. It's like a MIDI. You can control it via MIDI, and it has 8 individual voices in it. And I was like, wow, I have like so many more voices in my system now, just from one module. But my sequencer is limited to 8 voices to control. It still has the TRS MIDI output, which I can with one cable from that into the new module. But the firmware has no way of allowing me to control those voices individually or separately. And I just, I thought it's probably a long shot, but I know that it's open source, so I'm just going to try and see if I can hack it and make it do what I want it to do. And I have to admit, I've not done this by myself. I've been using also AI to help me code everything because I'm not great at programming. I understand a lot how the systems work now in terms of code, and I can definitely look at it and make sure it's not doing anything wrong. But some of the things are quite complicated, also working on building onto a firmware that someone else has already developed that has its own system, and that person had their own way of thinking about things and setting up the whole thing to work so it's working together. And now, since I've started tweaking the firmware, it's like, whoa, so many doors are opening, and I'm constantly thinking of new ideas how I can make this product better and to work more. For me as well, it's quite a selfish thing, but I see through sharing this with the community that many people are really excited about this sudden jump in someone else has picked up this project and they're actively working on the firmware and improving it. So it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. Yeah. Thanks. Good question. Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, can you show something?
Yeah, so this will be the next part. I have to quickly set my camera up, and then I'll show my system a little bit and we can hear things, and then I'll take a little break, and then I'm going to play a set like 2 hours and we see what happens. And I'm also hoping that the tweaked firmware on my sequencer is not going to crash while I'm playing. See how things go. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Super nice.